Hey NFL fans, if you didn't know, we have a Raiders channel on YouTube. So if you like this video, go check it out. YouTube.com/Raiders Report. Not a Raiders fan? Sorry to hear that. Shout out your favorite team, and maybe this next video that you watch, I'm going to be able to convert you to the dark side. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Today's show, I got players that I think could be cut or traded after the 2020 NFL Draft. So right now, our current cap situation, this is according to OverTheCap, is $8.2 million, which is 17th in the NFL. But the important note here is the Raiders already have, if we pay all the players on our cap, or on our, who we're expected to pay, it's going to be $208 million, which is second most in the NFL, behind only the Kansas City Chiefs. But we still need to pay the 7 players that we drafted, 2 of which were first rounders. So what does that mean? That means we need to start letting some guys go. And I think this is one of these years where we've added a lot more talent. And yes, I know some guys have helped us in the past, but we're getting better. And sometimes you just got to cut some certain ties. So before I get into my list of players, I want you to let me know. Name a Raider that you think could get cut or traded. We are going to talk about PJ Hall. We are going to talk about Gabe Jackson, but you're going to have to watch until the very, very end. All right, let's get on into it. Derek Carrier. Every single time I look him up, I know producer Alicia just like rolled her eyes at me. So you get a $1.85 million dead cap hit here, or cap hit. You save 1.85 if you cut him, okay? Because he doesn't have a dead cap hit. Waller, Foster Moreau, I thought they played very, very well last season. And if Foster's fully healthy, hey, guess what? You move on from Carrier, who, no disrespect to Carrier, but the Raiders right now have like 10 tight ends on the depth chart. You went out, you signed Jason Witten, Nick O'Leary, and from what it seems like, they go out, they get Paul Butler, they have Tomlinson still. I mean, they get sign Nick Bowers as a UDFA. Bottom line here is, if you think that the Raiders should cut Derek Carrier, I want you to type yes, or I want you to type no. And I want you to type yes or no for every single player that you see up on screen. Now, Carrier's a fun player, but again, we just have so many bodies. And if you're telling me that I can save $1.85 million for a tight end that honestly is probably at very best the 4th guy on our roster, and I get it, we're going to run 3 tight end sets and all, but still, Derek, I'm sorry, my man. I know you're from PA. I think it's time to move on. Let's go to the next player here on the list. It's Nick Nelson out of Wisconsin. And right now he's scheduled to make $675K. If you cut him, it saves us $675K. And let's just be honest. I mean, he just did not play very well last season. A player that I was hoping was going to be able to take that next step, but continuously just got burnt. And he played in only 2 games, and probably for the best. I'm not trying to be a dick, but that's just the fact. But you go out, you get Damon Arnette in round 1. And realistically, where I thought the Raiders were going to use Nelson was in the slot. And if that's true, well, now we have Amik Robertson, who is going to be able to outplay Nelson. So for me, we added a lot more players. We added a lot more depth. I just think for this team, it's time to move on from him, save the $675K, and just kind of wish him the best. But again, this is more of a we're getting better, not just I get it. He was on our team last year. But the fact that he barely made our team last year, I just don't think it's going to be looking very good for Nick Nelson. So I want you all to do me a favor. If you like the show, if you want me to make more videos, if you want me to do an extra live video, turn on your notifications. And I want you to type done when they're enabled. If you're wondering how to do that, okay? It's very, very simple. I'm going to break it down for you in 4 easy ways. Now, if you don't want to miss a single video, this is what you got to do. Go to YouTube, okay? Whether it's your app, whether you got to type it in on your desktop, then search Raiders Report. Once that loads up, you're going to see a gray bell. Click that gray bell and then click all. You will not miss a single video that I post out. That sounded weird. You won't miss a single video that I put out. And also, it'll pop up right on your phone. It'll be easy. You can just swipe it, and then you got it. Everything you possibly need, all your Raiders content. All right, let's keep the show moving here. We're going to get into some wide receivers now. Zay Jones. And I really, really wanted the Zay Jones experiment to work, right? I mean, he was a player that Mike Mayock absolutely loved when he first came out of East Carolina. Was a player that could run solid routes, had good hands. But if you're telling me I can save $1.4 million, I'm sorry. I'm going to do it, right? I mean, we have Nelson Aguilar, who, yes, I actually think is going to add more to this team, because the one thing that John Gruden said why he wanted Aguilar, he can also help us out in special teams, which Zay Jones can't really. Plus, we already have Hunter Renfrow, who's over Zay Jones. Then you also go out and you add Lynn Bowden. You go out, you draft, Brian Edwards, and we drafted Henry Ruggs. I would say right now, at very best, Zay Jones is the 6th, maybe 7th receiver on our team. Again, I'm saving money. I need to pay my rookies, and I can maybe invest that money down the road. So I think it's time to move on from Zay Jones. Before I give you my other Raiders wide receiver that I think that they can cut, I do want to tell you about this deal I got going on right now. If you want to pre-order your Raiders rookie jerseys like the Henry Ruggs, like a Damon Arnette, like a Lynn Bowden, Brian Edwards, whoever, go to chatsports.com/Raiders1, okay? Raiders rookie jerseys. If you want to be the first fan to be repping one of these, go to chatsports.com/Raiders1. It's in the comments. It's in the description. Go ahead, support our sponsors. All right, let's get into the next wide receiver here that I think they could cut. It's MArcell Ateman, and this one kind of pains me a little bit because I've always rooted for Ateman. I think he's a fun player. I know he works hard, and he was drafted in the 7th round out of Oklahoma State. But he's scheduled to make $750K, and he's got no money against the dead cap hit. And he didn't make the roster last year, and I would be wondering why he would make the team this year, right? We added a lot more talent at the wide receiver position, and maybe he ends up making the practice squad. And honestly, I hope MArcell Ateman makes the practice squad. But when I saw the draft pick of Brian Edwards at pick number 81, Brian Edwards, in my opinion, is just a little bit more talented version of Ateman, who at 6'4", at 215 pounds, doesn't really have the speed or the explosiveness like a player like Edwards does. So when I see what the Raiders made the move, to me that says, sorry, Ateman, we're going to push you down the depth chart a little bit. We're probably going to have to cut ties. Now, this is what I believe the Raiders wide receiver depth chart is going to look like. Plus, remember, Bowden was a wide receiver at Kentucky, but he's also going to play running back. So he's going to be listed at wide receiver and running back. I know I don't have him on this chart, but remember, he is also going to be a part of the mix. Now, for those of you that want to get to know me a little bit better, but if you also want to get to know some UDFA players, I'm not going to mention who they are. I want you to follow me on Instagram. It's at MArcell365, but I'm going to be doing a live Q&A style show on my Instagram with 2 Raiders UDFAs, and you know what? It might even be 3 because one of them, they just hit me up on IG. So hit me up at Renz365. All right, let's go into it now. Here we got DeShone Kizer at quarterback, and he's scheduled to make $1.14 million, and we can save $1.14 million. You're probably seeing a trend here. So Las Vegas, we signed Marcus Mariota in free agency, and the fact that Mariota is the highest paid backup in the league tells me that the Raiders have a lot of confidence in him, and I think they honestly should. It's why Mariota wanted to go to this team, because we had a lot of confidence in him. But this is the kicker for me, and he's a quarterback. Bad joke? Probably. Nathan Peterman, we gave a 5th-round tender to. Nobody wanted to go out and get Peterman for a 5th-rounder, so the Raiders, they signed him to a $2.1 million contract for this year. What that means is they, in my opinion, put Nathan Peterman as a bigger priority than Kizer. Yes, in years past, we've kept 4 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks. This year, it's not going to happen because for the first time in probably Derek Carr's entire career, we have a solid backup in Mariota. So I only anticipate this team keeping 3 quarterbacks. What does that mean? DeShone Kizer, unfortunately, he's going to be on the outside looking in. Age 24, since he's come out of Notre Dame, he's been a little bit up and down, but he's never really been able to be that mobile. And I think now with a more mobile quarterback in Mariota, again, I just personally don't really see why we'd keep him. Okay, so were the players I think could be cut. Now let's get into the 2 players that I think could be traded. It's Gabe Jackson, okay? He's going to start it off here. And originally, I probably would have put Gabe Jackson as a cut candidate. But when I look at a lot of these reports and it's saying that the Raiders are probably going to hang on to him, I think maybe the only way that we move on from him is if we can get a trade. Now, it does make it interesting because they did draft John Simpson in round 4. And the Raiders have actively been shopping Jackson. And the fact that you can save $9.6 million if you cut him, it makes this whole ordeal very intriguing. But Gabe Jackson is a fan favorite. When he was drafted in 2014, I think he was really part of that process that kind of changed that culture and why the Raiders were so good in 2016. The issue here, though, for Jackson is if we move on from him, you save a lot of money, plus the amount of depth that we've added at guard. Now, versatility has been something that the Raiders, Mike Mayock, John Gruden have talked about. And a lot of our guards that we went out and signed, like Cush, can also play at the tackle position. Then you have Jordan Devy, who can play guard. He can play center. The Raiders have a lot of offensive linemen. Bottom line is you're going to have to end up cutting some of these players. But if you can get something in return for Jackson, I'm actually curious if they trade him for a 5th rounder next year, because it's our only pick we don't have next season. So what are we going to do with Jackson? All right, let me know in the comments. Type T for trade, type K for cut, or type K for keep, and type C for cut. I'm telling you, I think I'm dyslexic. So what will the Las Vegas do with Jackson? Type T for trade, type K for cut. Oh my God, I did it again. K for keep or C for cut. See, guys, this is unedited, uncut. That's what you're going to get here. All right, let me know. T, K, C. Let's keep it moving here. I got to get off that. We got PJ Hall now, who has also been reportedly on the trade block. And I think the important thing to mention here with Hall is, even though I thought he actually played pretty well last season and the Raiders didn't draft a defensive tackle, the important note is Rod Marinelli, new defensive line coach, goes out, gets Daniel Ross, goes out, get Malik Collins. Those are both of his players. PJ Hall doesn't have any connections anymore with anybody that really went out and drafted him. Now, sure, John Gruden was still part of the team, but Mike Mayock didn't draft PJ Hall. And now with Rod Marinelli adding all this depth at defensive tackle, it wouldn't surprise me if we got a decent enough offer that the Raiders move on from Hall. But if we do move on from Hall, I am confident in Collins. I am confident in Mo Hurst. I am confident in Hankins being able to stuff up the middle. But if we decide to move on from him, I think we got to get a 4th round pick at least. Like, at the absolute least, we got to get a 4th round pick for somebody that we drafted in round 2. So should the Raiders trade PJ Hall? I want you to let me know. Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. I know it's a very split decision amongst the nation, because he did actually play pretty well. He was ranked 38th on PFF of all defensive tackles, but I also know that he kind of shows up when he wants and he doesn't give it his all every single play. So we have some decent depth. Let me know. Should the Raiders trade PJ Hall? Y for yes or an N for no?